You guys are watching the Dallas Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey. As a quick reminder, if we didn't get to your question on the mailbag, well, my DMs are open at WhatGoingDowney. Feel free to hit me up with any questions that you guys have. First up from Alexander Forte, aside from cornerback, what do you think Dallas views as their number one remaining need heading into the draft? I want them to say safety. I know they're not going to. For the way this organization has been run, probably linebacker. I would also mention, I think edge rusher and then defensive tackle are their next areas of focus. If you just say defense, you are correct. Alex Wilson, if Zeke loses 15 to 20 pounds, he'll be back in the 80 to 90 average a game. Still gets 1,000, 1,200, 300 yards there. 5.10, I think you mean, not 5 to 10 average per carry there. Defense plays and then wins the NFC East against Brady. Unless you mean a 5 to 10 average ranked defense there. Also, he throws in F taxes there. I wouldn't mind Slim Zeke to get to your core question there. Beyond that, we'll see. From L Maddox 7, Tommy D. First off, no one calls me Tommy. How upset are you going to be when Dallas takes Micah Parsons at 10? I will be in shambles if the Cowboys. I will be more upset over taking Micah Parsons than I was when they took Tristan Hill over Juan Thornhill. And you guys know how mad I was about that one. All right, from Dwayne Jackson. If Sewell somehow makes it to 10 and Surtain is off the board, or if Sehorn is still on the board, what player would you take? So I think what you're really asking is, who am I taking between Sewell and Surtain? I'm actually going Penei Sewell, not Jason Sehorn in there. I think Sewell is the number 2 player in this year's draft class. I can help my offensive line significantly, which I think would actually be a bigger impact than a tight end would be for this team. So give me Sewell as far as I'm concerned. Folks, I am working my way towards 11,000 Twitter followers, which is pretty cool there. Eventually, we're going to get to 69,000, but that's a long-term goal. If we did not get to your questions on today's video, that's my bad. There's a lot of them, though. But that's why I have my Twitter DMs open. That way, you guys can slide on in and ask me any questions that you want. Hit me up on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. From James Carter, what are the odds of getting Surtain, Grant, Togiai, and Osa Odighizuwa with the 10th, 44th, 75th, and 99th picks? That specifically is low because it's a lot to go on there. I think Surtain will be there in round 1. I feel pretty good about 75 and 99 going, at least being on the board. Grant's the one that makes me the most concerned. As difficult as it's going to be in terms of finding a way to actually get all 4 of those guys, the general range of those prospects is actually about right. So in terms of like a mock draft, that's about as realistic as it could end up being, knowing how difficult it actually ends up being. From Neil, why hasn't Dallas added a cornerback? Saw that Butler and Boye had interest. So there was a report that both Malcolm Butler and A.J. Boye had interest in joining the Cowboys, and the Cowboys said thanks but no thanks. The answer is, I think, pretty obvious and straightforward. They're going to draft somebody early. That's their plan. Whether it's in round 1 or in round 2, they're going to take a corner. And I think that is their path. And if they don't take a cornerback, well, then they can go revisit afterwards with the Casey Haywards, the Richard Shermans, the Steven Nelsons who are still out there. That, I think, is the plan right now from the Cowboys. And even though you don't want to draft for need, Surtain's a really good football player. J.C. Horn is too. So if you draft one of those guys, I feel good about the cornerback situation. Now let me know what you guys want to do. Who do you want the Dallas Cowboys to draft? Do you want a corner? Do you want Kyle Pitts? Who is it? This question is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. Who do you guys want the Cowboys to take? From Gabriel Gonzalez, who are the 3 best defensive players going into next season? DeMarcus Lawrence, I was assuming you mean for the Cowboys too. So DeMarcus Lawrence, Trevon Diggs. There's your issue, right? Is it Vander Esch? Is he healthy? Do you get a 16-game year out of Randy Gregory? Like, maybe one of those ends up making the most sense. From Sally Boy, do we get a comp pick for Aldon Smith signing with the Seahawks? As we sit here filming this, we do not know. It depends on the money. Now, with the way the comp pick cancellation chart works out, it's not going to be you get one for Aldon Smith. It's that you get one for Chidobe Awuzie. Right now, the Cowboys only have a 4th-round comp pick coming back for Andy Dalton. Other moves were canceled out. If Aldon Smith qualifies for a comp pick, that will get canceled out by Terrell Basham, which currently cancels out Chidobe Awuzie. So if Aldon Smith makes, I think it's like $2.5 to $3 million minimum, somewhere in that range, you would get a 5th-round comp pick for losing Chido. From Andrew Collins, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah versus LVE/Jalen Smith. I mean, Owusu-Koramoah can be anything. He could be better than those guys. I like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah a lot. This is one of my guys in this year's class. I know he's undersized. I don't care. It is 2021. I need speed and coverage ability out of my linebackers. My defensive line, if I make that better, will help stop the run as well. I know it's a scary Notre Dame linebacker. I like Joke a lot. From Dan the Kid, if a top 4 quarterback falls to number 10, this is my trade offer. Cowboys get 20, a 3rd, and a future 1st-round pick from the Bears. Bears get the number 10 overall pick. That is within the range of outcomes on the trade value chart. It's really an extra 3rd relative to what the normal value is. Look, in general, a trade from 20 to 10 for a quarterback, it might be even more than that because it's a quarterback, and that drives up the value significantly. From Joey, I'm not sold on J.C. Horn being a good pick at 10. If he is the pick, I want to like it, and I don't like him currently. Can you try to convince me? Okay, so J.C. Horn is my number 2 cornerback in this year's class. He checks off a lot of the major boxes that you want. He's a very, very good athlete, has the size, had an absolutely dominant game against Auburn, against Seth Williams. In terms of physicality, in terms of the attitude that you want out of your number 1 corner, which is, I'm better than you, and the enemy of my enemy is still my enemy, F you. That is J.C. Horn's mindset, an absolute dog when it comes to being a cornerback. He had a very, very, very good 2020. He can play man-to-man coverage, which is tough to find in the NFL. Those boxes all get checked out. If you already love J.C. Horn, well, hopefully you're already on board. As for the negatives, he's very grabby, and that is an issue as well. He's not great in run support. He's not as technically sound as Patrick Surtain. But if you were to tell me, hey, Tom, either Surtain or Horn ends up being a top 3 corner in the NFL, I would say Horn might actually have the higher ceiling versus the better player right now and still also a very high ceiling in Patrick Surtain. Food review. Is there a scenario without drafting Pitts that Dallas trades away one of their tight ends for a 4th rounder? No. Because let's say you trade away Blake Jarwin, that leaves you Dalton Schultz and Jeremy Sprinkle and Sean McEwen. So at that point, you're not great. I think the only path in reality in which the Cowboys trade away one of their top 2 guys in Jarwin and Schultz is if they take Kyle Pitts or somebody else in round 2 or in round 3. That's the path for Dallas. From Dang. I almost read that as Dan Gang. It's really weird for me. What do you have to do to acquire a comp pick? So the comp pick process for the NFL, it is a reward for losing free agents. It fills out the rest of the roster, and it's a competitive balance thing for, hey, you lost a bunch of good players. Congrats, you get some draft picks to help fill that out. So the way that it works is if one of your free agents leaves for a different team, based on the money they get, and by the deadline, which is after the NFL draft, you will get a certain draft pick value assigned to you. Players that you sign can then cancel that out. So for the Cowboys right now, at the price tag Andy Dalton got, they're getting a 4th-round pick from the Chicago Bears. No other picks at this point, at least not projected. From Mark, do you see Bradley and I being a consistent rotational piece this year, or do they draft someone who will ultimately keep him on the bench? Great question. I wanted to see more out of Bradley and I, because Dorrance Armstrong is not a good pass rusher, but somebody in that regime loves him, and he kept playing over Bradley and I. Right now you have DeMarcus Lawrence, you have Randy Gregory as your top 2 guys. Terrell Basham will be a rotational piece. Dorrance Armstrong and I could be, maybe Rondell Carter's kind of a hybrid inside-outside guy as well. In the end, the future of Bradley and I is very much unknown. Is he going to be a rotational piece? Maybe. If the Cowboys go edge rusher on day 2, that hurts him. My hope is that he can replace Dorrance Armstrong as this team's 4th/5th defensive end and actually be active on game days. Now, for those of you longtime subscribers, you guys know I am a member of the Free Anai campaign, something Bradley and I himself is also a part of. If you want to join us here at the #1 Cowboys YouTube channel out there, hit that big red button and subscribe today. From Hattrick123, where does Walker Little, OT from Stanford, and Aleem McNeil, DT from NC State, go in the draft? They're ranked differently on draft boards. Great question. I like Aleem McNeil a lot. He's my number 3 defensive tackle. I think his likely draft range is somewhere after the Cowboys round 2 pick, but before the Cowboys round 3 pick. Somewhere in there is where I think he goes. As for Walker Little, former highly touted recruit, hasn't played football in 2 years. In reality, played 1 game in 2019. That was it. I don't know what to do with him on that front, so we'll see about Walker Little maybe on day 2. All right, from Jason, do you agree we should sign Sherman? Not the same player, but his vet experience could help Trayvon Diggs take the next step. Sure, it's fine. If you draft a cornerback, though, in round 1, what's the point? Because Richard Sherman's going to want to play. He's not going to want to come in and just be a vet mentor guy. So that's, especially from a money perspective too, right? So that's your number 1 issue. If you take someone like in round 2 or round 3, yes, go get Sherman if he wants to play given the issues with Jerry Jones. Beyond that, not really.